Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Mitchell Weiser and Bonnie Bickwit? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the disappearance, then offer my analysis. Mitchell Fred Weiser was born on November 23, 1956, and was raised in the Midwood neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York. Bonita Mara Bickwit was born on January 28, 1958, and was raised in the Borough Park neighborhood of Brooklyn. She went by the name Bonnie. In the summer of 1973, Mitchell had just finished his junior year at John Dewey High School in the Gravesend neighborhood of Brooklyn. This is a school for gifted students. He was set to graduate in January 1974. Mitchell had a summer job as a photography assistant for a studio in Coney Island. Over a year earlier, he met Bonnie in high school, and they became romantically involved. Bonnie was working at Camp Wilmette near Narrowsburg, New York. This is in Sullivan County. This is a summer camp she had attended when she was younger. The town of Narrowsburg is almost 3 hours from New York City. It is northwest of the city. Bonnie was a mother's helper at the camp and worked 16-hour days. Mitchell was a big fan of rock bands and wanted to attend a one-day outdoor concert called Summer Jam. It featured several rock bands, including the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead. The concert was held at a racetrack in Watkins Glen, New York. This is about 280 miles northwest of Brooklyn. Mitchell wanted to go with a friend of his named Larry, and he even purchased tickets, but Larry's parents would not permit him to go. At this point, Mitchell came up with a new plan. He would take his girlfriend Bonnie to the concert instead. Mitchell's mother asked him not to go to the Summer Jam, but he insisted. Bonnie's parents never knew about her plan to attend the concert. She didn't tell them. Now moving to the timeline of the disappearance. On Thursday, July 26, 1973, Mitchell took a bus from the Port Authority bus terminal in Manhattan to Narrowsburg, New York. After arriving, he took a taxi to get to the camp where Bonnie worked. He would later call his sister and inform her that he had spent the entire $25 in cash that he had taken with him on the trip. Bonnie asked her employer if she could have time off to attend the Summer Jam concert, but they refused. Instead of accepting their answer, Bonnie quit on the spot. She told her employer that when the concert was over, she would return to pick up her final paycheck and their clothing. On Friday, July 27, Mitchell and Bonnie ate breakfast and then obtained a ride from the camp into the town of Narrowsburg. They appeared to be determined to make the 150-mile trip to Watkins Glen. Mitchell and Bonnie had backpacks, sleeping bags, and were wearing t-shirts and blue jeans. Mitchell was carrying an expensive camera. The couple was on State Route 97, holding a cardboard sign that read Watkins Glen when they were picked up by a truck driver. He dropped the teenage couple off not long after this. Mitchell and Bonnie were never seen again. It's not clear if they ever made it to the Summer Jam concert. The event was a little disorganized, and tracking attendance was not a priority. The Summer Jam producers sold 150,000 tickets, but so many people showed up, the event staff were overwhelmed. Some of the fencing was knocked down by fans, and there was no way to control the crowds. The producers decided to take down the rest of the fencing and redesignate the concert as a free event. It is believed that about 600,000 people showed up to the concert altogether. This is about 200,000 more than were present at Woodstock 4 years earlier. The police made almost 150 arrests during the concert, which really wasn't that high considering the number of people who attended. On Sunday, July 29, Mitchell did not return home as expected. On Monday, July 30, the staff at Camp Wilmette contacted Bonnie's mother and told her that Bonnie never returned to the camp. Mitchell's father and sister drove to Watkins Glen in search of Mitchell. They met with the police, but the officers did not take the case seriously. They thought that the teenage couple simply ran away. Bonnie's mother traveled to Sullivan County and met with the police there, but those officers didn't do anything either. Unable to get help from law enforcement, the families of Mitchell and Bonnie conducted their own investigation. They hired a private investigator, placed advertisements in underground newspapers, and visited various cults and hippie communes. Bonnie's mother was so desperate, she even turned to nonsense and contacted self-proclaimed psychics. As usual, the psychics were astoundingly unhelpful. They said things like the couple was in a state that had cold weather, Mitchell had an illness around his ears and throat, Bonnie had a limp, and they were murdered by a Vietnam veteran. The families of the teenage couple had a rough time maintaining their investigative efforts due to financial restrictions. They simply didn't have the resources to keep looking forever. Later, it was revealed that the police were incompetent and made essentially no effort to find Mitchell or Bonnie. They lost the original case files, which included the dental records, notes taken by investigators, and a list of potential witnesses. A detective in Sullivan County admitted that he never attempted to contact the original investigator, and he did not try to locate witnesses. It wasn't until years after the couple went missing that the police actually started seriously investigating. In October of 2000, the police received a curious and controversial lead in this case. A 51-year-old Navy veteran named Alan Smith saw a TV episode about the case and called the number supplied at the end of the show. He reported that he had seen two teenagers matching the descriptions of Mitchell and Bonnie back in 1973. He was 100% certain it was them. Alan said that he encountered them right after the concert. He believed that Mitchell and Bonnie never made it anywhere near the concert due to the crowds, and they were hitchhiking back home. He and the couple were picked up by an orange Volkswagen bus with Pennsylvania license plates. So there were 4 people in the Volkswagen bus at this time. The driver, who was never identified, 24-year-old Alan Smith, 16-year-old Mitchell Weiser, and 15-year-old Bonnie Bickwit. The group stopped at the Susquehanna River to cool off. Alan was about 100 feet from the edge of the river when he heard the girl scream and saw her struggling in the water. The boy jumped in the water to rescue the girl, but they were both swept away and drowned. Alan and the driver of the Volkswagen bus could not do anything to help. There were no people in the area. There was no way to make a phone call. They decided simply to leave and continue their journey. The Volkswagen bus driver told Alan that he would call the police from a gas station. Alan just assumed that the driver would follow through, so he never called the police himself. In addition, Alan was high on marijuana and was not interested in having contact with law enforcement. The police investigated the story that Alan Smith supplied. As it turns out, Alan had told a few friends about this drowning. He started talking about it right after he returned from the concert in 1973. Some investigators believed that Alan was a credible witness, but others were not as convinced. In 2013, the police received another possible lead in this case. A 51-year-old woman who lived in Florida contacted the authorities in Sullivan County, New York. When she was 11, she lived in the town of Wayne, which is about 16 miles from Watkins Glen. She claimed that her father encountered a boy named Mitchell sitting at a table in a restaurant. She further claimed that her father was someone who committed terrible offenses against her and other children. This led to the police excavating certain areas of Wayne, but they didn't find anything. The woman's father had been a person of interest in another case, but he was not willing to talk to investigators. The man later died, so it's unlikely he will reveal any information now. At the time making this video, the case of Mitchell Weiser and Bonnie Bickwit remains unsolved. Now moving to my analysis. Let's examine the various theories about what happened to Mitchell and Bonnie. Theory number 1. The couple drowned in the Susquehanna River, just as Alan Smith reported. There are a few reasons to believe that Alan was telling the truth. He gained nothing from coming forward. He was not looking for fame or fortune. He mentioned witnessing a drowning to friends right after the concert. Alan worked diligently to get in touch with the right people after seeing the TV episode about the case. Long-distance calls were not affordable back then. He didn't remember where the incident happened, but the police said that he looked genuinely disappointed every time they took him to a possible location, and he realized it wasn't the correct spot. Moving to the factors that contradict the story supplied by Alan. Presumably, Alan was physically fit. Why did he not attempt to rescue the young couple? If Alan was telling his friends about the drowning, why didn't he report it to the authorities? His excuse about believing the Volkswagen driver would contact the police doesn't make any sense. Alan would have people believe that Mitchell and Bonnie just happened to encounter not one, but two people who would not bother to contact the police after witnessing a drowning. Alan was never able to show the police where the drowning occurred. The stress of watching two people be swept away by a river would have made the event memorable. He remembered the incident well enough to repeat the story to his friends, but not well enough to identify the location. Whatever happened to the driver of the Volkswagen bus? Why was it not possible to locate him? If Mitchell and Bonnie were really swept away in the river, why were their bodies never recovered? It's possible the bodies were recovered but not identified, but the police investigated this possibility without success. Theory number 2, Mitchell and Bonnie ran away and started new lives. Looking at the factors supporting this theory, the 1970s were known as a time when young people rebelled and ran away to join groups promoting non-traditional values, like cults. Both Mitchell and Bonnie were fearless, determined, strong-willed, and a little rebellious. One day, not long before she disappeared, Bonnie traveled back to Brooklyn and retrieved $80 that she had been saving for a bicycle. Just a few days before disappearing, Bonnie wrote a letter to her family emphasizing how she wanted to be independent. She liked the freedom she had at the camp. Mitchell wanted to attend college away from home, but was destined to attend Brooklyn College instead. Maybe he was disappointed and wanted to see the country. The young lovers had secretly exchanged wedding rings not long before they disappeared. Maybe they were intoxicated on passion and unable to think clearly. Family members described both Mitchell and Bonnie as not being at ease. Maybe they were nervous because they had big plans to break free from their comfortable lives where everything was paid for. Moving to the factors contradicting the runaway theory, Mitchell's original plan to see the concert did not involve Bonnie. So he was interested in the concert, but then thought to himself, maybe I will run away with my girlfriend instead. That is a significant departure from his original plan. Mitchell told people he was coming back, and his driver's test was coming up in just a few weeks. Bonnie told her employer that she would return to camp for her paycheck and clothing. A paycheck would have come in handy for running away. There is no record of Mitchell or Bonnie ever being employed after they disappeared. How did they survive all this time without working? Both Mitchell and Bonnie were from stable, middle-class Jewish families in Brooklyn and were intelligent. Despite being a little rebellious, neither had been in trouble with the law. Even if they decided to run away together, what are the chances that they would both stay fully committed to that plan forever? I would think that one of them would have eventually said something like, okay, that was fun, but I'm ready to go home now. Theory number 3, Mitchell and Bonnie were victims of foul play. The couple didn't have any money and were completely dependent on the generosity of strangers. They were young, gullible, naive, and not physically strong. Mitchell weighed 140 pounds and Bonnie weighed 90 pounds. They weren't exactly built for hand-to-hand combat. Mitchell and Bonnie may have stood out as easy targets. The chaotic concert was a cascade of commotion containing colossal crowds and curious characters. Perhaps a pernicious predator plied the pandemonium to pursue a perilous plot of pain. This theory explains why the couple never worked anywhere or contacted their families. When weighing the evidence, how would I rank these theories as far as their likelihood? I think the most probable theory is number 3. Mitchell and Bonnie were murdered by an opportunistic offender. Bonnie was the target. Mitchell was killed simply for being in the way. Then I would go with theory number 2. The couple ran away. It's also possible that the couple ran away and then was killed, like a combination of theory number 2 and theory number 3. Finally, I would go with theory number 1. This is the account of drowning supplied by Alan Smith. His story just doesn't make any sense. I doubt it's true. Now moving to my final thoughts. Regardless of what exactly happened to Mitchell and Bonnie, their decision to hitchhike to the concert was the impetus. They could not wait to have independence and freedom. The couple wanted to see the Summer Jam concert, but found themselves in a different kind of Summer Jam. Those are my thoughts on the case of Mitchell Weiser and Bonnie Bickwit. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.